Hey guys, in this video we're going to talk about memory cards. So I'm Daniel Norton, photographer here in New York. I make videos like this about gear, about technique, about philosophy of photography, and if you're interested in that kind of stuff, go ahead and subscribe. So sorry I've been kind of not posting for the last few days. I've been busy. I've got a lot of things coming up on Adorama. We're kind of working on some new stuff, so look forward to that. In addition to that, it's just been kind of hectic. Hopefully we'll get back into doing more of these videos, but I was kind of going through and sorting stuff and organizing, and I realized that I don't really ever talk too much about this, right? This is like the hidden heroes of photography, right? We all have memory cards, we all use them, but people don't usually talk about them that much. One thing I'll say right off the bat is there's lots of companies that make memory cards, but yeah, I mean, use the best memory cards you can afford. Think about it like this. No matter what effort you make to go out and do your photo shoot, if you have it on a card that fails on you, you're going to have a problem. You know, your shots are gone. They're gone forever. So it's like doing a whole professional photo shoot back in the day and then bringing it to like some like questionable 1 hour lab. You know, you don't want to do that, right? So buy good cards if you can. I generally change cards once a year. So once a year I get all new cards. I take all my old ones and I kind of have them in different places. Like I have some in bags, I have some at the studio, just kind of sitting there. I have some at home because I have literally forgotten my thing of memory cards, and then I'm like, oh my god, and I have some. And then of course each year when I put the new old ones, I guess I'll call them, in those spaces, I take those old ones and I get rid of them. So anyways, I mostly don't use memory cards for stills photography because I shoot tethered, right? I shoot into the computer and it's not really a thing. We'll talk about that a little bit in a minute. Mostly I'm using these for video. So if you guys follow me on Adorama TV, you would know that like I shoot generally when I'm shooting at the studio, I use a multicam system, and you can see these are marked A and C. And the reason for that is I have a camera marked with an A on it. I have a camera marked with a C on it. I have a remote, a HDMI remote marked with an A, and an HDMI remote marked with a C. And then what I do is I always put these things together, right? So if I pull a card and I'm looking at it, the footage, and there's a problem, like the color's weird, or it's skipping, or it's having weird noise, or the focus isn't working, I know there's a problem with that camera or with that transmitter or the cables in between, whatever. I don't have to like go through all my equipment to figure out where the issue is. I know it's with that. So that's why I keep them always the same. Then what I'll do is, by the way, is when I take a card and I shoot it, until I actually back it up onto the computer, I put it back in backwards. So this way, like if I had a card like that, you can probably see that, right? It's backwards. This means that I have not dumped it into the computer yet, which means that I can be extra careful with it, right? You may also notice that I'm using pretty much all these days of these micro SDs. The reason for that is because some cameras I have only use them. My drone, the Osmo I'm using right there, the Mevo, my black, I was going to call it a black, my Hero Black, or GoPro Hero Black, I guess is the full name. Just got it, so I still don't know them. They all use the micro, right? So I figured it'd be, instead of having a bunch of separate cards for everything, if I get all micros with adapters, I can put these in my Sony's, and I can also put them in my Nikon Z50. The Z6 takes a different kind of memory card. You know, it takes this guy, XQD. Which I keep a spare. You know, again, I don't really shoot memory cards, but you got to have a memory card. So I just keep one spare of that and go crazy. I mean, have tons of SD cards. And I generally try to use the same card in the same cameras all the time. And what you want to do is once you know everything's dumped, you want to format them. I know this is I mean, maybe people watching this, I'm not sure what level you're at, of course. Again, a lot of times newer people don't realize that if you let's say you stick your camera to the computer and you have like it set to copy them and then delete, that doesn't reformat the card. And after a while, you can actually run into issues. So you want to actually format your card. You can delete all the images first, but you want to format the card at least once in a while. I try to do it every single time. It's a kind of reset. It's like a reset, right? To make sure that the cards are nice and clean and ready to go. So format them before every single use, guys. But yeah, that's basically my system. It's simple, right? Now, so let's say I'm going in to do a photo shoot. I'm going to take my A and my C, I shoot video, and then when I come back, I put them back in here. So, I put them back in this way. And now I know. So then if I go in the studio the next day to shoot, and I'm like, I don't grab these cards again. I grab this one, which is face forward, and I know this one is ready to be shot, which means I stick it in my camera and I format it. Then when I'm done with it, I put it here, and I won't touch that card again until I've dumped everything into the computer, and then I know it's good. This makes me not erase stuff. I mean, believe me, in my career, I've had issues where like you don't know, and then I end up with memory cards that I never format because I'm like, I don't know if I have those images somewhere, and then you end up copying them 3 times. So keeping it all together and keeping it organized is just super smart. Also, generally speaking, there's actually one more set of these A and C cards. They are in the cameras. I always keep a card in the camera. Whenever I remove the card from the camera, I put a fresh one in there because, again, I've shown up places without a card in the camera, and that is really a bummer. So yeah, you definitely don't want to do that. And again, I've got this here. Get whatever system works for you. The other thing I keep in here, though, guys, which is super useful, is this guy here. This is actually a thumb drive with a USB-C adapter, because all my stuff is USB-C, but not everybody I interact with is USB-C. So I thought regular thumb drive makes sense. Plus I have the adapter, so when I want to use it, I go like that. And then if somebody came to me with a hard drive or something that was like the old USB style, I could just put this on their cable as well. So that's super useful to keep in here. The other thing I keep that has nothing to do with memory cards, but these are always good to have around because I use an iPhone, is this adapter for the audio. So I just keep one of these in there. Maybe I'll eventually take this out of here. I just keep, mostly because I always know I have this. Like, this is in my bag. It goes in my backpack. I always have my memory cards with me. Even when I'm not carrying a camera, I carry my memory cards. I don't know why. It's in my bag. It makes sense. If I never take it out of my bag, then I never worry that I don't have it. You know, so even though I take my cameras in and out of my bags because I switch cameras, I never take the memory cards out. I always leave them in my bag in this case that I got from Robert from Photo Brigade. So thanks, Robert. It's really cool. And like I said, I'll put a link. I'll put a link to all this stuff if you guys want. You can actually put business cards here too, although I never do. So I guess it's cards on all levels, right? Now, the other thing that I carry too that's related to this that I just want to kind of mention is this thing, which I picked up a little while back. It's a IO Gear. It's a card reader. It does micro and full size SD, and it's USB-C. I find this works really great with the iPad. On my MacBook, sometimes I've got to like pull it in and out several times to make it like recognize it, which is kind of irritating, but my MacBook does that with a lot of things. So I call it more on the MacBook than on this thing. I'll put a link to this guy. But if you have an iPad or something, or any kind of tablet or something that uses USB-C, this is great and it's super cheap. I still use the regular full reader on my computer normally now because, you know, it's more reliable, although it's not as fast. This is super fast. So I carry that all the time. And the other thing that I always carry is one of these bad boys. We talked about this before, I think. G Drive. This is a solid state. It's USB-C. So, you know, I plug it into my iPad, I plug it into my laptop. Even though I have everything on memory cards, when I take it out of the camera at the end of the day, when I'm about to travel, I always have it somewhere else. I either have it on this or on the hard drive directly of my laptop. And I still have it on this, right? I don't reformat these until I use them again and I rotate through them. So the reason for that is you just never know, right? Even though cards are pretty sturdy and something, you know, whatever, I could lose this. There's a lot of things that could happen. So if I'm finishing a day of shooting, I got this, and everything that's on these cards is on this as well. That gives me a backup in 2 separate spots, and worst case scenario, I lose one or the other, I'm still good to go. Backing up is so important, guys. You know, until you actually lose a photo shoot, you will not know the pain of it. So in any case, I'm curious what you guys use. I mean, I think SD is probably the most common cards now, but do people still use compact flash? I have the Canon camera, which uses that, my compact flash, but I keep those cards with that camera. I don't keep them in this general case. I have like a small case in with that camera that has 3 compact flash cards. That's the only thing I have that uses compact flash. So I think the world's changing there, right? I feel like this XQD is kind of taking over where you need the powerful cards, and SD is still popular where we need the small ones. So yeah, let me know what kind of cards you guys use and how you put them around. Do you have a system, you know? Do you guys replace your cards every year, or do you think I'm crazy because I do it too much? You know, let me know. And talk to you soon.